A political storm is sweeping through the United Kingdom as public anger toward Prime Minister Keir Starmer reaches unprecedented levels. What began as a heated television interview has turned into a full-blown national debate about leadership, accountability, and the direction of the country. More than 3 million citizens have now signed an official parliamentary petition calling for an immediate general election, one of the most significant political petitions in modern British history. The scale of this movement has shocked both Westminster insiders and the wider public, marking what many believe could be a defining moment in British politics. The catalyst for this growing unrest came from journalist Isabel Oakeshott, whose uncompromising live interview with the Prime Minister went viral across Britain. Her remarks, sharp, direct, and unsparing, ignited a movement that many now see as a turning point in Starmer's political career. In front of millions of viewers, Oakeshott accused the Prime Minister of lacking integrity, leadership, and vision. "This man is a disgrace," she declared, adding that he has no plan, no conviction, and no backbone. Those words have since echoed across television broadcasts, social media platforms, and political circles, becoming a rallying cry for those disillusioned by the Labour government's performance. Within days, the official petition demanding a new election began to surge. Launched on Parliament's own website, it quickly crossed 100,000 signatures within 48 hours, the legal threshold requiring a parliamentary debate. 2 weeks later, the number had soared past 1 million. By the time the petition closed, over 3 million British citizens had signed, cutting across regional, class, and party lines. From London to Glasgow and from Liverpool to Cardiff, voters of every background, former Labour supporters, lifelong Conservatives, Reform UK sympathisers, independents, and first-time voters, united behind a single message: enough is enough. For many, this was not just about party politics. It was about being heard after years of growing frustration with the political establishment. When Parliament met to debate the petition, the session drew massive public attention. The House of Commons was filled to capacity, and millions tuned in online to watch as MPs from across the spectrum voiced their constituents' anger. The debate, which lasted several hours, featured passionate speeches, sharp exchanges, and moments of visible tension. But when Starmer finally took the floor to respond, his remarks only deepened public frustration. Dismissing the petition as a partisan gesture, he suggested that those supporting it were merely sore losers from the last election. He went further, saying that those who seek to blame others are themselves the problem. Instead of reassuring an anxious nation, his words were viewed as dismissive and out of touch, the opposite of what many expected from a leader who once promised empathy and change. Among those who reacted most strongly was Oakeshott herself, a veteran journalist known for her fearless reporting and long experience covering British politics. Speaking again in a televised follow-up interview, she said she could no longer stay silent while millions of citizens felt ignored and disrespected. "I stand with the millions who believe this man is a disgrace," she repeated, her voice calm but resolute. Her delivery was not emotional. It was deliberate, confident, and cutting, which made it resonate even more. Oakeshott then drew comparisons between Starmer and Nigel Farage, the outspoken leader of Reform UK. Farage, she argued, represents energy, authenticity, and conviction, qualities she believes are missing in the current Prime Minister. Farage is exciting, dynamic, and charismatic. Starmer is not, she said bluntly, a remark that instantly sparked widespread debate online and across the media. While Oakeshott's comments were polarizing, polling data soon suggested that public opinion may indeed align with her criticism. According to the latest YouGov survey, Starmer's net favorability rating has plummeted to -50, one of the lowest figures ever recorded for a sitting prime minister. Political historians note that neither Tony Blair nor Gordon Brown, even during their most unpopular periods, ever reached such dismal numbers. Labour's overall approval rating has fallen sharply as well, with drops recorded across nearly every region and demographic group. The political momentum that once carried Labour to victory appears to have reversed dramatically. The decline has been particularly steep among working-class voters, who feel that Labour has drifted away from its roots. Young people, too, once seen as the backbone of Labour's electoral success, are showing signs of disillusionment. Even ethnic minority communities, long considered a reliable base, are expressing growing frustration over issues such as housing, cost of living, and policing. Meanwhile, Reform UK's numbers are rising rapidly. The latest MRP projection, the same model that accurately predicted previous elections, suggests that if a general election were held today, Reform UK could win as many as 301 seats, just short of an outright majority. For a party that was barely on the map just a few years ago, these figures represent a seismic shift. The reasons behind this shift go far beyond a single petition or viral interview. Analysts say it reflects a deeper crisis of confidence in Britain's political system itself. Under the first-past-the-post electoral model, millions of Reform UK voters in the last election saw their votes effectively wasted, translated into only a handful of seats. That sense of disenfranchisement has been simmering ever since. Oakeshott and others argue that the time has come to reform the system entirely. If there were a referendum on proportional representation today, it would likely pass by a wide margin, she said, calling for an overhaul of how Britain counts and values its votes. For many, her argument is not about partisanship but fairness, about ensuring that every voice, regardless of geography, carries real political weight. At the same time, a string of scandals has deepened the sense of unease surrounding the Labour government. Chancellor Rachel Reeves admitted to a $22 billion budget shortfall, a figure not disclosed during the election campaign, raising serious concerns about transparency and honesty in government. Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner resigned in early September following intense scrutiny over her tax affairs, including allegations that she failed to properly declare and pay taxes on a property sale. Foreign Secretary David Lammy has faced criticism for his handling of key international relations, with even members of his own party questioning his effectiveness. Meanwhile, veteran Labour figure Peter Mandelson, brought back as a senior advisor, was forced to resign after reports emerged linking him to wealthy donors and undeclared financial arrangements. These controversies, taken together, have reinforced the public perception of a government struggling to maintain control. Political analysts say that even minor missteps can become magnified in an atmosphere already thick with distrust. "The issue isn't one scandal or one mistake," said one Westminster insider. "It's the cumulative sense that this government promised integrity and competence, but delivered confusion and excuses instead." For many citizens, that sense of betrayal has been the final straw. Immigration has become another major flashpoint. Labour came to power promising to stop the boats, a reference to the small vessels bringing migrants across the English Channel from France. Yet instead of falling, the number of crossings has risen sharply. In response, the government announced a new digital identification initiative known as the BRIC card, aimed at streamlining immigration tracking. But with implementation not planned until 2030, critics have dismissed it as too little, too late. Oakeshott called the policy a half-baked distraction from failure, accusing ministers of offering symbolic solutions instead of real enforcement. Her criticism resonated widely. Across social media, thousands of posts echoed her sentiment, accusing Labour of breaking one of its most visible promises. Platforms like X, formerly Twitter, have become the battleground of public opinion. Hashtags such as Dr. Starmer out, Reform Rising, and Dark Labour Collapse trend regularly, reflecting the growing discontent. Clips of Oakeshott's interview have racked up millions of views, with captions like "Starmer crumbles as Oakeshott destroys him live," shared across thousands of accounts. "Finally, someone is saying what we've all been thinking," one viral post read. Another declared, "Farage for PM." What was once considered fringe rhetoric has now become part of mainstream conversation, further intensifying the pressure on Downing Street. Even lifelong Labour supporters are beginning to voice regret and anger. "I've voted Labour my entire life," wrote one user, "but never again after this." Such statements, repeated thousands of times online, are painting a picture of a party losing its connection with the people who once defined it. "This is what political collapse looks like," one political commentator observed. "It's not dramatic or sudden. It's the slow erosion of faith in leadership, one disappointment at a time." Oakeshott has compared the growing British backlash to the rise of populist movements around the world. She argues that Nigel Farage has successfully tapped into the same anger and alienation that propelled figures like Donald Trump to prominence in the United States. "When people feel unheard, they don't want polished speeches or empty promises," she said. "They want someone who speaks plainly, who fights back, who says what they actually feel." That contrast between Farage's fiery authenticity and Starmer's cautious professionalism is becoming one of the defining dynamics in British politics today. Although the petition itself cannot automatically trigger an early election, its political implications are far-reaching. Under UK law, only Parliament can vote to dissolve itself and call an early election, something Labour's large majority makes highly unlikely. However, the petition has already changed the narrative. It has shown just how far public trust has fallen and how fragile Labour's support truly is. Political insiders warn that if the government begins losing upcoming by-elections, particularly in constituencies once considered safe, the psychological damage could be devastating. If Labour starts losing its heartlands, said one strategist, the panic will spread fast. MPs in marginal seats are already expressing anxiety. Behind the scenes, discussions about Starmer's leadership are intensifying. Some within the party argue for a reset, a new communication strategy, policy recalibrations, and a more aggressive response to critics. Others, however, believe the damage may already be done. Once voters lose faith, it's almost impossible to win it back, one senior Labour official reportedly said. And right now, the tide is turning against us. Oakeshott's prediction is stark. A resurgent Reform UK, buoyed by growing public anger, could soon challenge Labour's dominance in a way unseen in modern British politics. Whether that leads to an early election or simply forces a realignment of power, one thing is clear. The ground beneath Westminster is shifting. What began as a single interview has become a symbol of deeper national frustration. 3 million signatures, a collapsing approval rating, and a viral broadcast have together exposed a government teetering on the edge of legitimacy. For many Britons, it feels like a historic reckoning, a moment when public patience finally ran out. Historians will likely look back on this period as either the start of Labour's renewal or the beginning of its decline. The coming months will be decisive. A series of by-elections, economic challenges, and policy tests will determine whether Starmer can regain control of the narrative or whether his government will continue to unravel. What's certain is that Britain is entering a new political chapter, one defined by anger, accountability, and an unmistakable demand for change. The message from the streets, the screens, and the signatures is clear. The British public is watching, waiting, and ready to act.